My son didn't just ask me to skip his graduation. He told people I wasn't part of his life at all. If you've lived through something similar, share your story in the comments. The phone rang while paperwork sat spread across the table. Evan's name appeared. The call connected before the second ring finished. I need to say something, he said. No greeting. What is it? You shouldn't come to graduation. The words landed without build-up. A pause followed, brief and intentional. I'm asking you to repeat that, came the reply, steady. Evan didn't hesitate. You don't fit in with the intellectual crowd. The line stayed open. No raised voice, no argument offered. A single question went back. Are you sure? Yes, he said. Your being there would make things awkward. What do you mean by awkward? For me. For people I know. Another pause. Traffic passed somewhere beyond the call. Evan filled the space. Just don't come, Dad. The connection ended. No sign-off. The call timer froze, then disappeared. A laptop waited nearby, already open. The university's message sat unread among other notices. The subject line mentioned commencement details for parents and guests. The message opened with a polite welcome dates, seating information instructions to confirm attendance. The cursor hovered. A glance moved to the flight itinerary pulled up in another tab. The ticket had been booked weeks earlier. A few clicks canceled the reservation. A refund notice appeared. Process completed. Dinner came and went without ceremony. A message from the airline confirmed the cancellation. The laptop stayed open. The university portal still allowed access through an old parent account, a remnant from earlier years. Credentials worked. The dashboard loaded. Student profile. Family information. The name that used to sit there no longer appeared. Not crossed out. Not replaced. Simply removed. The rest of the form looked complete. Emergency contact listed a campus office. Mailing address matched Evan's apartment. Parental information showed not provided. The loading dock near the engineering building stayed busy most mornings. Trucks came and went, clipboards changed hands, nothing personal. A delivery for one of my long-term clients brought me there, paperwork signed, crate-checked, job nearly done. A voice called Evan's name from behind. I turned before thinking. The man walking toward me looked familiar in the vague way faces do when they belong to another stage of your life. He stopped a few feet away, squinting. Thomas Hale, he asked. That's right. He nodded, smiling with the confidence of someone certain he had the right context. I knew Evan back when he was a freshman, he said. Hell of a kid. Smart, driven. Did everything on his own. On his own, I repeated. Yeah. No family support. That's what he always said. The man adjusted his jacket. Kind of inspiring, honestly. A pause sat between us. Forklifts passed behind him. Someone shouted an order number. He said his father was never around. The man added as if filling in a blank. Is that what he told you? Pretty much everyone, he said. Made people respect him more, I think. No correction followed. No defense. A nod ended the exchange. Good to hear he's doing well, I said. The man shook my hand, wished me luck, and walked back toward the building. The delivery receipt folded into a pocket. The truck door closed. The engine turned over. A diner off the highway offered a place to sit without explanation. Coffee arrived without being asked for twice. The mug warmed my hands while old emails loaded on the phone. Tuition confirmations, receipts, transfers dated years back, each message brief, transactional, payments processed, balance cleared, notes thanking Hale Equipment for continued support of the university's Agricultural Research Fund. Scrolling slowed near the financial aid forms Evan had forwarded once, asking for a signature that was never required. Independent student status checked. No parental income listed. supporting statements attached in his name. Another form opened. Same declaration. Another semester. Same box checked. A message window opened and closed twice before anything went through. The final version stayed short. Subject verification request. I'm requesting confirmation of my status as a parent listed on record for Evan Hale and clarification regarding any declarations of independent student status associated with his account. The message sent. No explanation added. The reply arrived later than expected. Marilyn Brooks signed it with a full title beneath her name. The tone stayed precise. Thank you for reaching out. For privacy and compliance purposes, we'll need to verify your identity and review relevant documentation. Please provide records related to tuition payments and any affiliated institutional support. Attachments followed. Instructions. A timeline. Files uploaded included bank records, payment confirmations, and sponsorship agreements tied to Hale equipment. A note explained the research fund's history without commentary. Another message confirmed receipt. A phone vibrated against the table. A text from Evan's mother's side of the family came through, then another. You don't need to push this. Let it go. He's almost done. Don't complicate things now. No one asked what had already been said. No one questioned the version they had been given. A reply stayed unsent. The diner's register rang. A server wiped the counter. Coffee refilled itself without discussion. The phone lit again. Marilyn's response came back. We've scheduled a meeting with the Office of Academic Advancement to review these matters. Please confirm your availability. The administration building sat a few blocks from where students crossed between classes. A receptionist checked my name against a list handed over a visitor badge and pointed down the hall. No questions followed. Marilyn Brooks stood when I entered the conference room. She offered a handshake professional brief. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Hale. The table held a thin folder, a tablet, and a legal pad. Nothing else. She waited until the door closed before taking her seat. Our role here is procedural, she said, not interpretive. That works for me. She nodded and opened the folder. A summary page came first. Hale Equipment has funded the Agricultural Systems Research Grant continuously for 15 years, Marilyn said. No interruptions, no compliance issues. That's correct. The fund isn't named after any individual, she added. That's typical. Donors often prefer distance from student affiliations. A finger tapped the page once, then moved on. Your involvement has been consistent. Quiet. There's no indication of influence over recipient selection. Wasn't the goal, I said. Her eyes lifted. A brief acknowledgement passed, then returned to the documents. I want to ask about Evan's filings came next. The tone didn't change, specifically how he described his family situation. Marilyn paused before answering. There are inconsistencies. In what way, she chose her words carefully. Some disclosures differ from institutional records. Others lack supporting context. Does that include the independent status claim? Yes. No elaboration followed. The tablet turned toward me, showing a form with highlighted sections. To proceed, we require authorization to review related financial aid records and scholarship eligibility, she said. That includes cross-referencing donor data where applicable. The pen slid across the table. The document listed sections and permissions. Nothing dramatic, just language that gave the schoolroom to look deeper. The signature went on the line without hesitation. Marilyn collected the form, scanned it once, then placed it back in the folder. This doesn't presume wrongdoing, she said. It initiates review. Understood. She stood signaling the meeting's end. No small talk followed. At the door, she paused. You'll be notified of any findings through official channels. Outside, the phone vibrated before the first step off campus. Evan's name flashed across the screen. The message read, "Stop contacting the university." No reply went back. The phone slipped into a pocket. Traffic carried me away from the building. The drive back to the hotel took longer than expected. Construction slowed everything down. A room key worked on the second try. The door shut. Shoes came off. The laptop opened on the desk. An email waited. The sender listed the Office of Academic Integrity. "Dear Mr. Hale," it began. "This message is to confirm that a preliminary review has been initiated regarding scholarship and disclosure materials associated with Evan Hale." Dates followed. Procedures, estimated timelines, no mention of conclusions. Another message arrived seconds later, this one from Marilyn. "We have begun the review process. No further action required from you at this time." The screen dimmed briefly before waking again. A text from Evan's aunt followed. Then another from a cousin. He's stressed. Why now? This could hurt him. Can't this wait? The phone went face down. Airline sites loaded next. The return flight booked earlier in the week still showed as canceled. A new search pulled up options for the same date as the commencement ceremony. The call came before breakfast finished cooling. Evan's voice broke through without warning. "Dad, you need to fix this." Words tumbled out, fast-clipped, uneven. "They pulled my honor status. Temporarily, they say. But everyone knows. You talked to them. You did this. What happened came the response, even. They said it's under review. They won't tell me anything else." His breath hitched. "You can call them. You have connections. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. I don't control their process." A pause followed. Then his tone sharpened. "You started it. What I did was answer questions. That's not the same thing Evan said. You knew what this would do. I knew they would check their records." Silence stretched. When he spoke again, the confidence was gone. "This messes everything up. I can't change it." The line went dead. The phone lit up again minutes later. A number from Evan's mother's family. Then another. And another. "You're going too far," his aunt said when the call connected. "He's worked for this. You're punishing him," a cousin added through a separate message. "Whatever you're trying to prove, stop." No reply went back. The phone returned to the counter. An email notification followed. Then another. The first came from the university's financial office. "Please be advised that scholarship funds associated with Evan Hale have been temporarily frozen pending review. Dates, account numbers. No adjectives." Another message arrived from Marilyn Brooks shortly after. "This is to inform you of the next procedural steps," she wrote. "The review will proceed through the Academic Integrity Committee. You may be contacted if clarification is required. No reassurance followed. No judgment offered." Campus forums picked up the story by afternoon. Screenshots circulated. A post mentioned a student flagged for misrepresentation tied to financial aid. Names weren't confirmed, but speculation didn't need much help. Messages stopped coming from Evan. By late afternoon, the campus felt different. Preparations for graduation continued, but certain clusters shifted. Groups reorganized. A few conversations ended abruptly when he approached, according to someone who mentioned it in passing near the parking structure. An afternoon walk carried me across the edge of campus. Families moved between buildings. Students gathered paperwork gowns draped over arms. Evan didn't appear. The student center buzzed. The engineering quad filled with foot traffic. His name stayed absent. A security guard pointed toward the administration offices when asked about schedule changes. The answer stayed vague. Back at the hotel, another email waited. This one didn't come from Marilyn. "Dear Mr. Hale," it began. On behalf of the Office of the Chancellor, we would like to formally invite you to attend the upcoming commencement ceremony. The message continued. In recognition of your 15 years of sustained institutional support, we request your presence during the donor acknowledgement segment. No mention of Evan. No explanation. Just logistics. The email arrived early, marked urgent. The subject line mentioned an expanded review. Opening it revealed a longer list than before, multiple academic years, overlapping scholarships supporting letters pulled from different departments. Dates stacked up. The scope had widened. Another message followed from Marilyn Brooks. No greeting, just a summary. The review now includes cross-year comparisons of financial disclosures, recommendation letters, and scholarship eligibility determinations. A request sat at the bottom. Confirmation of donation milestones, specific years, amounts, signatures already on file needing verification. Documents were pulled from storage and forwarded without comment. Receipts, bank statements, contracts signed long ago. No explanations added. The reply went out clean. A knock interrupted the morning. The hotel door opened to Evan standing too close to the frame, eyes red, jaw tight. "We need to talk," he said. No invitation came. He stepped past anyway. "This is getting out of control," he continued. "They're digging through everything." "What did they tell you?" "That it's under review," Evan snapped. "You know what that means." A chair scraped against the floor as he sat down. Hands shook while rubbing his face. "I didn't have a choice," he said. "You weren't part of that world. They respect struggle. That's how things work here. You removed me from the record. That was necessary." "For what? To survive," he said. "To keep what I earned." One question followed flat and direct. "What did you get by saying that?" He looked away. "Scholarships," Evan admitted. "Priority housing. Some faculty support." "So the story mattered." "Yes," he said. "They don't listen if you don't fit." "And I didn't." "Not there," he said. "You would have made it worse." The phone on the desk vibrated. Another message from the university waited unread. "Call them," Evan said. "Tell them you misunderstood something. Say you weren't involved." "That would be a lie. You owe me this. I don't withdraw facts." Anger replaced the panic. "You always do this," he said. "Act like you're above it. Let systems decide." I answered questions. And look what happened. He stood abruptly, chair tipping back before he caught it. "You ruined this," Evan said. "You could have stayed out." The door closed hard behind him. The phone rang soon after. Evan's aunt again. "This has gone far enough," she said. "You've made your point." "There wasn't a point." "Well, there's damage," she replied. "People are talking." No response followed. The message arrived before the alarm went off. Sender Office of the Chancellor. The subject line didn't mention Evan. It didn't mention the review. It only referenced the commencement schedule and a request for confirmation. Opening it revealed a formal invitation to appear on stage during the donor recognition segment. The language stayed measured. 15 years of sustained institutional support, agricultural research, a brief note on timing and seating. No praise, no apology, just placement. A call followed minutes later. Marilyn Brooks didn't waste time. "This is now public," she said. "The program has been finalized." "Does this connect to Evan's situation?" came the question. "They are separate processes," Marilyn replied. "Different offices, different standards. Will this affect the review? No." The call ended there. Notifications stacked up quickly after that. Evan's number flashed across the screen then again. The third call came with a voicemail notification. It stayed unheard. Campus updates began circulating through faculty lists and student forums. Language stayed vague, but the meaning didn't. A student under investigation for misrepresentation tied to financial aid. No name listed. Enough detail to narrow it down. By mid-morning, the phone stayed face down. A ride to campus followed the same route as before. Streets closed earlier than usual. Volunteers directed traffic. Gowns appeared in clusters folded over arms or draped across shoulders. The credential from the chancellor's office granted access past the main checkpoint. A staff member handed over a lanyard and pointed toward the staging area. "Donor recognition will be just before the student procession," she said. "You'll be called by fund name." A rehearsal ran ahead of schedule. Names echoed across the empty seating area. Faculty lined up. Staff adjusted positions. Walking past the rehearsal zone brought brief interruptions. "Mr. Hale," one professor said, extending a hand. "We've corresponded about the irrigation project." Another nodded in passing. "Appreciate your continued support." Each exchange stayed short. No one mentioned Evan. No one needed to. The scale of it settled in during the wait. What started as a correction had shifted into something larger. Systems don't pause for family dynamics. Once set in motion, they keep going. The phone buzzed again. Evan's name appeared, then disappeared. A message followed. "Please answer." No reply went back. Backstage coordination moved quickly. Names checked off, positions assigned, instructions repeated. A staff member leaned in. "You'll step out when the MC reads Hale Research Fund. Understood." The waiting area filled. Donors stood in a loose line. Some chatted. Others stared at their phones. From the side, the crowd sounded louder than expected. Chairs scraped. Programs rustled. The ceremony was underway. Announcements rolled by. Departments, honors, scholarships. The MC's voice shifted tone. "At this time, we recognize our long-term institutional partners." The first name followed. Applause. Another. More applause. The phone vibrated once more in a pocket, then stopped. "Hale Research Fund," the MC said. The cue landed clean. My name wasn't called. The fund's name was Hale Research Fund. The MC said, reading from the program without emphasis. Steps carried me forward when the cue came. The pace stayed measured. The stage manager nodded once. A handoff happened as rehearsed. The MC added a line, supporting agricultural research for 15 consecutive years. Applause rose, then settled. A folder was placed into my hands. A brief nod went back. No speech followed. The MC moved on. From where I stood, the student section spread wide. Caps and gowns blended together. Evan sat among them, not in the front rows, reserved for honors. No sash, no cord, just the standard gown shoulders, squared hands folded tight. The ceremony continued. Departments were announced. Names followed in long sequences. The cadence stayed steady. A phone vibrated against my leg. It stopped. Another buzz came and went. I didn't check it. When the engineering graduates were called, the MC's voice remained unchanged. Evan Hale. No title followed. No distinction added. Applause sounded thinner than before. It always does when a name doesn't carry extras. He stood crossed the aisle and returned to his seat without looking up. Somewhere behind me, a staffer murmured into a headset. A tablet pinged. Messages moved through internal lists faster than the ceremony could keep up. A faculty chair near the aisle glanced down at a phone, then leaned toward a colleague. A whisper passed. Another phone came out. A third. The announcement didn't interrupt the program. It never does. Preliminary findings indicate misrepresentation related to financial disclosures, the internal note would later say. Further review pending. By the time the next department was announced, the ripple had already spread. Parents leaned toward each other. Students checked screens and looked back up. A few heads turned toward the donor seating area, then toward the student rows, then back again. Evan shifted in his seat. He stood once, sat again, then rose for good, and stepped into the aisle. He didn't wait for a break. He didn't ask permission. He moved past knees and programs heading for the exit. No one stopped him. The procession continued. Names filled the air. Another round of applause came and went. From the side of the stage, a coordinator gestured for me to stay put. The segment wasn't finished yet. Another fund was being recognized. I stayed where I was. A man in a blazer leaned over from 2 seats down. "Thank you for your support," he said low enough not to carry. "It matters." A nod answered him. Nothing else. The MC wrapped the donor segment and transitioned back to the graduates. The music swelled briefly, then cut. More names, more applause. When it was time to step off, a staffer guided me towards the stairs. The folder was collected. A quick thank you passed between us. The stage fell behind. Back in the donor seating area, phones came out again. Messages stacked up. One from Evan arrived short and sharp. "You did this on purpose." No reply followed. Another message came from a number I recognized but hadn't saved. They connected the dots, it read. That one went unanswered as well. The ceremony moved toward its close. Caps stayed on. Programs folded. Families prepared to stand. As the final announcement rolled out, the crowd rose in a single wave. Applause filled the space again, louder this time, general and unfocused. People began to move. A few parents glanced my way. Some looked away quickly. Others didn't bother. I didn't search the aisles. I didn't scan the exits. The seat stayed occupied until the ushers waved our section forward. Outside, the crowd thinned and reformed. Conversations overlapped. Plans were made. Photos lined up. A staff member from the chancellor's office approached. "We'll follow up next week," she said. "Thank you for attending." Of course. Walking away from the seating area, the phone buzzed once more. The notification preview showed a campus-wide message header. Update regarding ongoing review. The notices arrived over the next week, one at a time, each written in the same careful tone. The financial office confirmed the remaining scholarship funds were revoked. No appeal window mentioned. Another message followed from the registrar. Evan's student record would carry a notation for misrepresentation tied to financial disclosures. It didn't describe intent. It didn't soften language, just a line that would follow transcripts wherever they went. A third email closed another door. A graduate program withdrew its conditional offer, citing compliance issues still under review. There was no lawsuit, no threat of one, no family meeting scheduled to clear the air. Systems did what systems do, then moved on. An email from Evan came late one night. 3 sentences. "Can we talk? I need to explain." "Please." The message stayed unread for a day, then archived. Work resumed the following Monday. Orders needed signing. A supplier called to adjust a delivery window. A technician asked about replacement parts. Conversations stayed practical. Nobody mentioned the ceremony. The university followed up regarding the research fund. Marilyn Brooks outlined next steps in a short call. "We'll need updated language if you want to revise the structure." "I do." The paperwork arrived later that afternoon. The change was simple. The fund would convert into an open scholarship awarded without reference to donor identity. No family names, no acknowledgments beyond the annual report. Marilyn confirmed receipt. "That's workable," she said. "It removes conflicts going forward. That's the point." The house outside Madison looked the same as it always had. Mail stacked near the door. A neighbor waved while walking past. The lawn needed attention. Boxes came down from the hall closet. Old folders went onto the table. School forms, emergency contacts, permissions signed years ago, all of it outdated. A shredder took care of most of it. What remained fit into a single envelope marked for storage. An email confirmation popped up from an outdoor education center in northern Wisconsin. Registration complete. A weekend climbing course scheduled for late summer. Something postponed too many times finally placed on the calendar. The day stayed full. A delivery arrived late. Dinner came together quickly. Dishes dried on the rack. Another email from Evan followed. Shorter this time. I understand if you don't want to see me. No response went back. The final packet for the university needed mailing. Forms signed. Copies made. The envelope sealed and addressed. A short drive led to the post office. The clerk weighed the envelope, printed a label, and slid it across the counter. Anything fragile, she asked. No. Payment processed. Receipt handed over. The envelope dropped into the outgoing bin with the rest. No ceremony, no pause. Stepping back into the parking lot, the phone buzzed once more. A notification preview showed a message from the university confirming receipt of the revised fund agreement. That one was opened. The engine started. The route home followed the usual streets. Nothing blocked the way. Life didn't reset. It continued with fewer assumptions attached.